Hello, everyone. My name is Scott James, and you're here again with the Redhat Coffee Break, or the Redhat Project Coffee Break. I've got my coffee, and I'm happy to be here with Tony Moss, who recently had a successful Indiegogo project for his personal, or his team, Luv Amp Project. And Tony, welcome to the program, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and that project?
Yeah, so I'm an artist and a musician, and we're working in and out of the entertainment industry for most of my life, and it actually kind of retired for that for the most part. But a few years back, I discovered research by this group called the Institute of Heart Math, and they're pioneering what's now known as the science of the heart. And their basic premise and working model is that the electromagnetic field of the human heart, our emotional states get encoded into that, and that electromagnetic field, which is roughly visualized as a torus, seems to be interacting with planetary fields and obviously the fields of other people. So I got so turned on by that because intuitively it just seemed right to me, and I've been doing some other work in that area, that I contacted them and I said, look, I'm working with a lot of artists here in LA, and I would like to take your information and popularize that, make it more accessible and more interesting and more fun. And after a few phone calls, they basically looked at, the body of work we were working on with other things. And they said, yeah, we think you can do it. Let's go for it. So the Luv Amp Project was born in that moment. So that's basically the project. We're an artist collective, and we present music and projects that use their information in either a kind of concert presentation or what we call a ceremonial kind of setting. Okay. But that's the project in a nutshell.
As you know, Tony, I'm here to talk to you about your crowdfunding project.
Yes.
Everybody out there, if you're looking at crowdfunding, two of the big players are the site Kickstarter, which we'll talk about in other interviews. And Tony, I know you had some experience with that, but the project that we're going to talk about you did on another site that's a major player. It's called Indiegogo. And
right.
Can you tell me, how did you present the project on Indiegogo, and why did you use Indiegogo?
Really good question. Which I'll say really briefly, we did our initial campaign on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And the problem with that was, it kind of got off to a good start. We raised maybe $1,200, and then the tsunami hit in Japan.
Right.
Right. And needless to say, we were talking about it. I can't, in any integrity, ask people to send us money to this campaign when there's a disaster happening, which is what all of our attention should be on. So the problem with Kickstarter, which, it's a blessing and a curse. The idea that you have to raise everything is fantastic because there's just momentum and urgency behind it, which is what we wanted.
Sure.
It backfired for us because the $1,200 we weren't going to be able to use, and we couldn't keep campaigning. So what I had to do at the time was I switched over to Chip-In, which at the time, I didn't know about Indiegogo at the time.
Okay.
Chip-In really very small but effective for some people. A lot of nonprofits, I think, use it.
Yep.
And their advantage is you basically just raise money with no goal necessarily.
Okay.
And everything you raise comes to you. So what I did was I contacted all the people that had donated, and I said, look, this thing has happened. We really need to cancel this campaign. Can you just donate to Chip-In, and we'll just take the $1,200 and put it to good use? Which they did, which was awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so everybody kind of switched over. We were able to use that seed money to help with the initial video production costs of this project. But of course, the problem was that now on Kickstarter, almost, I think, indefinitely, it says, unfunded project, so it looked like failure.
Yeah.
I picked Indiegogo this time around because we wanted to make sure that everything we raised we could actually utilize.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't want the urgency of the deadline, we must raise everything, or as I was saying, for some campaigns, that is what's exciting and works about Kickstarter, is that you tell people we have to raise all of it or we can't use any of it. Since that kind of backfired for us the first time around, we decided this time to just make sure. The thing is, we have an established fan base that we knew wanted to support us because they were actually asking us to make the album. What I didn't want was, let's say that we get to 4,000 instead of the 5, which is what we asked for, and then all those people actually, feel deflated because it didn't go anywhere. So that's why we chose Indiegogo. Yeah. But as it turns out, we actually went over the total. We overfunded. So
I saw that. Yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Testament to the momentum and the.
Oh yeah. Well, and as I will talk about hard work.
Well, on the flip side, What did you try on any of them, the Kickstarter or the Chip-In or the Indiegogo, that just fell on its face and didn't work? If anything.
It wasn't that anything fell on its face. What I learned was which kind of outreach or marketing tools, for lack of a better term, that we were using would actually catch attention.
Okay.
You know, there were things that I would put out, anything that was, anything that was general, like, we're doing this love songs campaign, help us make this album, and this is what it's about, would generally fall flat on Facebook. Like, the people that would say that liked it were people that were already involved in it. But when I took something specific, like, here's a super cool hoodie that we're going to be offering, and talked about that and why it was cool related to the project, or I would put, like, a picture of the actual, that was one big learning curve. The image of the album cover, which has these really cool, like, two mystical owls on it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, everybody liked that, right? But because people had seen that, that kind of fell a little bit flat. When I used the same exact words but put a picture of the band, Human Beings, all of a sudden there are all these likes,
Oh, interesting.
I thought, again, I realized in that moment the importance of constantly humanizing our campaigns. I kept doing it from that point on. Yeah, I made sure that they were like, here's something cool about our campaign, not so much the campaign itself. And then various people would respond to different images. So that was a big learning curve. But anything that was just general and broad was just kind of like flatlined.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a really important learning curve as well. So that's really
very much
interesting
so.
to hear. Well, that's the next question. I mean, you touched on it. What worked on one hand is that you used one platform for a good set of reasons. So what worked as you were raising money or
interestingly
getting support for your project?
I got a lot of credit to Indiegogo, and I'm sure Kickstarter does this too. I don't remember now, actually. Their training was actually dead on in terms of what I got right away and learned from Kickstarter was that it doesn't help to broadcast and just blast your project to everybody, like on Facebook. Everybody, I think, has this idea, well, if you just tell everybody on Facebook, they'll love your project too. Yeah. Actually, what happens is they get really sick of you really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like seeing your thing everywhere. Yep. And even if they initially thought it was cool, they're like tired of it, So what I did this time was I was very specific. I wrote all the team members that were going to help me promote. Okay. And I said, do not broadcast this on Facebook. Okay. I go, what works is to contact a few people that you think will actually care that they're getting this email from you and care about this project. You have kind of some sensitivity to it already, or have seen us and like our music, Yeah. And I said, and I'll take care of through our Facebook page, actually like broadcasting from there. Sure. And that was really successful. I did it actually in very strategic stages. I made the initial announcement on Facebook via our page. And then all of our friends kind of like broadcasted that. Yep. Then we waited for a whole 15 days or so before I made any mention of it again. And that was strategic throughout. We kept reminding people that it was happening. And I told everyone, don't do the full broadcast, we need your support, until literally the last 3 days. We did that. It was totally successful. The last 3 days pushed it over the top.
That is really interesting. I love that tactic. And I know I've had a similar experience where the personalization, reaching out to people personally is much more meaningful and frankly effective than
it really was
broadcast. And I love the way you put that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the other thing I learned about that was it's true. You want to contact people that actually feel you're contacting them because you think they actually are going to care and their support will make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, otherwise, what I looked at as I was kind of researching a few months before, some of the projects come across more as, this is my dream and it's something I really want to do, so please help me do it. That's not as moving as, I'm doing this project that I think you'll care about and you can be a part of making it happen. Okay. We made sure that everything was geared towards, this is a community-based project. If you care about this subject matter or like what we're doing, then you can be part of this team. Yeah. So I was never trying to go after people outside of that community already. And then as it turns out, we got a bunch of them,
Interesting.
They found it on their own,
Yeah, that's one. Anything that was a surprise to you, other than what you just brought up, that either happened or worked?
Yeah, there actually one, I got to tell you. I thought for sure that it was going to be really important to have like a $5 kind of like, either we don't have a lot of money or we just like your project but we're not sure about it, so we'll give you $5. Sure. I honestly thought that was going to be huge. So we had a designer friend of ours make this really beautiful, fantastic dragonfly sticker, which is the name of one of the songs.
Uh-huh.
At the bottom it says "Love and Transformation." And it's beautiful. I mean, it really is beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm thinking, like, well, everybody's going to want that, and all they have to give is $5. One person in the entire campaign took that. Yeah. And interestingly enough, what I later read on, I think, the Indiegogo site was the average amount that people give actually is between the $25 and $50 range. Mm-hmm. That proved to be absolutely true. Yeah. We only had one person do $5. What I learned, if people liked the project, they were totally okay with wanting to get the entire album and to donate around $25. The $5 thing was like almost a failure, you know?
Very, very interesting. Also very important for people thinking about a campaign. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I tend to think, my advice would be, a friend of mine wrote to me who's done a lot of fundraising, and he said something to the effect of, make your mid-range thing, your $25 to $40 thing, make that the best thing possible, because that's the average thing that people can afford and are willing to give. So you want to make sure it's something really cool. And we did. And that ended up being really good advice and was successful. Yeah, there was a $5, a $10, a $15, and then $25. Everything below 25 was like, from 25 up, it took off. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, very much so.
So you've given a lot of really great and interesting information for folks. My last question is there anything, if you were going to do another one or give a piece of advice to somebody who's planning one, is there anything that you would say, I would definitely do this differently, or here's a tip, the number one thing to keep in mind, anything like that?
The number one thing I learned about both campaigns was the importance of making sure that the project, if it is bigger than yourself. And what I mean by that is, it's really, even if you're just making an album, right, and it's for your fans, you need to keep the emphasis on the project, for me, would always be, and what I would advise people to be, on the crowdfunding aspect itself. The idea that a lot of people get to contribute to make something manifest and happen that they care about.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what I think for this next campaign, for Amazon Watch, that's what I would focus on is, here's a project that has large implications, bigger than the project itself, and you get to participate in that and literally, make a difference. So I kept stressing to people as we went along, together as a community, we can bring to the world whatever we want, and this is an example of how it happens. Yeah. Yeah, and that it could just be you making this really cool T-shirt with a design on it. But again, it's got to be all your friends want to make that happen too. Yeah. As opposed to, I have this great idea, please help me make it happen.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
Well, Tony, thank you for joining us on the Red Hat Coffee Break. And everyone, let us know what you think down in the comments, and I'll have some contact information and things if you want to get in touch with Tony or learn more about what happens with the Luv Amp Project.
Absolutely. Thank you.